Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Get in the Herd After Hours. After Hours. I'm your host, Alex Bond. Get in the Herd is a recovery podcast brought to you by the Hoffa Foundation. About myself, I am a person in sustained recovery from a substance use disorder, which means that since September 23rd, 2019, I've not found the need to put any mood or mind altering substances in my body. And I'm very happy to be here today with our two wonderful guests and our wonderful guest co-host today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
So my name is Kelly Widows, and I have the pleasure of being married to Mr. Widows, Todd Widows. He produces the Get in the Herd podcast.
Woo-hoo.
And, I'm so very proud of him. And I was almost crying watching that to see just how far Get in the Herd has come and just how far he has come. But I'm excited to talk to our guests tonight.
And now I'm very excited to have you here. We're very excited also to have Jarrod and Tom. Tom, a recurring guest. Jarrod, first time on the pod. Tom, why don't you introduce yourself to those who may not have seen you the first time around?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And so happy to be back. I looked at the last time I was on, is the first time, of course, was September 1st. So 5 months ago. Seems like it wasn't that long ago, but it's 5 months since the last time. And honored to be back on again. And so here I am. I'm in Maryland right now. That's home for me. Also go out to Delaware every now and again. Real quick intro, turn it over to Jarrod, is that I'm here this evening back on to continue to share the mission that we're on, the journey as an organization. We have some great updates to share tonight from the last time we met on this. We're on this show till now. Some progress we made with our mission, the impact we're having out there in the local community. As you can see, the organization is Hoffa. That was my younger brother, his nickname. Jimmy, my brother, passed away August 18, 2019 from an overdose. And we took his nickname, converted it into an acronym. It stands for Healing, Opportunity, Free from Addiction. So glad to be on tonight, Alex. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. I remember when we had you on, we were like, we'll have to check back in like 6 months to a year to see how the progress is going. So I think this is kind of like a perfect opportunity. And then we got our friend Jarrod on. Jarrod, how are you doing, man? Why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jarrod, right here, Richmond, Virginia. I run a company called Strength in Time. It's a website, but we also working on some outreach programs to help bring the message of recovery, hope, and strength to the community. I'm extremely grateful to be here. I appreciate it, the opportunity, man, and ready to, get this conversation started.
Absolutely. Yeah. I met Jarrod through a mutual friend of ours and, started looking into some of the clothes that he does. And they're pretty cool. As a hip hop head myself, I feel like you take a lot of the hip hop lyrics and kind of like work them into like a more recovery sayings. And I think that's super cool. So we're really happy to have y'all on. And today we were going to talk about entrepreneurship. Kelly, you want to start us off with any questions you might have?
So, first off, I will say that I went to both of the websites, and I think that you are correct. Like Jarrod's stuff, I was so impressed with some of the things that came. One of the things I just wrote it down because I thought it was so cool. One of the examples of the shirts that he had was it says sobriety replaces fear with love, and I was like, that really struck home for me, and just how much people don't realize, that when people are in active addiction, like they're really scared. Like, so that one really hit home for me so hard. And I was able to read Jarrod's blog and things like that. So Jarrod, why don't you tell us a little bit about your blog and like how that's been helping you and how it's helped those around you as well?
All right. So as far as the blog and writing, I used to make music. So writing unknowingly in my active addiction was like my release, right? But of course, as an addict, I started to use my studio time as an outlet to continue to use and abuse. So what I found now in my sobriety is making me be creative again. Like I'm falling in love with the art of creating. So I would write down my thoughts as they came to me and just try to get the message out, whatever the topic of the day just kind of hit me, I would let it out. But I've also moved on to video as well, where I interview people and we get their stories out to the people to help inspire and bring that message of hope.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, man. I made music myself, and that was kind of part of my like cop out. Was I'd be able to say like when I'm performing and doing stuff like that, that was when I was kind of at the height of my addiction, is because I'd be like, oh, I need the courage. I need like the liquid courage or the substance courage to kind of like be the performer that I need to be. And, looking back, it is a cop out, is exactly what it is, because now when I like put pen to paper, it comes out so much more authentic and raw, instead of just trying to be like, I don't know, cool or effacing. So, I think that's really cool, Jarrod. And Tom, so it's been about 5 months since we spoke. I was wondering if you could kind of, explain a little bit more about the Hoffa organization and maybe an update on your progress since we last saw you.
Absolutely, Alex. So just a quick story on how Hoffa was started. Wasn't too long after Jimmy had passed away that immediately I'm thinking, what can I do to keep him around me every single day? I want to keep his spirit alive. We were best friends, brothers, and he was 36 years old when he passed. He was been 37 last year in September. And so, I'd share with Kelly and Jarrod prior to the start of the call tonight that I was, grew up in funeral homes. My parents owned a funeral home. My grandfather started one that my uncle, my cousin run now. And Jimmy and I both lived in the one that my parents had. And so, Jimmy's services for his funeral were in his own house. And so the morning when we had to say our final goodbyes as a family, we woke up, went to the next room over, and Jimmy's there, and got to, we had our coffee, and we put an empty cup, empty coffee mug in his casket with him. We loved to have coffee together and just kind of laugh about the day before, what's going on for the day. He just loved hanging out in the morning, making, breakfast and being with the family. And so, right away I'm thinking, you know what, I don't know why, just coffee, and just was thinking Hoffa Beans, his buddies called him Hoffa. And I'm down around all these coffee suppliers, and just my mind's all jumbled from his passing, and found this really cool supplier out in Seattle, Washington called Joe's Garage Coffee. They're amazing. And when I shared Jimmy's story with the guys and gals out there, I mean, it really hit home for them. They're like, we're behind you. So they sent out a bunch of samples. The family tried it out. Next thing you know, we had pallets of Jimmy's blend being shipped.
Oh,
that's so cool.
Yeah, into Maryland, and his pictures on the side, story on the back, and he was a high quality guy. Like Jimmy was go big, go home. So we went to like top grade coffee. It tastes amazing. It's all about the mission. So not knowing what we were doing, I mean, here we are a year later. So 1,000 bags of coffee shipped out, 500 plus customers. It's been in 25 states. We've seen bags in Alaska, people putting them in the snow, taking pictures, putting them on social media. And so our family's like, we're raising all this money. We started our own 501c3. Now, what's the real mission? What are we going to do? So from then till now, Alex, from September until now, officially our own 501c3. We have a rock star board. And our next step in our journey is the summer of this year. We will open up our first safe, sober living facility, a home. I don't want to call it facility, it's a home that's going to be in the southern part of Carroll County, Maryland. And we got big plans. We were going through we did an offsite retreat this past weekend on what the vision for Hoffa is going to be about. And earlier we talked about a lifestyle. Like we want this to be a lifestyle for everyone, to live. And so, again, a year later, here we are, and big, bold plans for 2021. And Jimmy, looking down, couldn't be so, proud on the number of people he's going to impact, because of what we're doing here. So it's it's exciting, Alex. It is. And, first time in a long time, we were on a meeting the other day, a board meeting. And of course, we're doing them like this through virtual. And one of the board members was almost in tears because he goes, that's the first time I saw your mother smile. And, since Jimmy's passing, she was smiling and laughing. And it's like a really, really cool moment.
Yeah, that's totally beautiful, man. I mean, it's really cool how we can see, the grief and the negative parts of, active addiction, and then turn them into something so beautiful, even better than, it was sometimes, at least for me personally. I wanted to ask, Tom, you're a brother of someone with a substance use disorder. Kelly has a loved one with a substance use disorder. I was wondering if you could talk about, what that's like for you personally, Kelly.
Yeah. So, obviously married to Todd. Todd is, is an alcoholic, and that's taken its toll on our relationship. And, we've been blessed because God has provided an avenue for us to, focus back on our relationship. But it's definitely been a journey, and watching him struggle and then overcome those struggles has given me an opportunity to see him in a different light, in a different avenue. And it's interesting, we talk about entrepreneurship, and I don't think I really realized it until we started the podcast. And I'm like, dude, he's totally an entrepreneur. But, it's funny because we were saying tonight that, like, when we first got married, like, I used to complain so much, like, come on, I just need for you to have some initiative and some drive and things like that. Because I think that, like, the addiction just kind of sucked that really out of him. Mm-hmm. Like, he was so focused on, when is my next drink going to come, that there wasn't really room for anything else. And now I'm just like, dude, can you stop working already? Because he works so much, which we're so blessed for. And, I probably would not change it, but I think that people, at least it's been my experience, that, watching him face, walk into recovery, a big part of his recovery has been having that entrepreneurship behind him and that drive to not only make an impact in his life, but to make an impact in others' lives. And, like, that's really how Ask Him Studios got started, was mm-hmm. that he wanted to make an impact for a small recovery house where he was living. And it just has grown, since then. And I mean, I love to hear the stories that you guys are doing right now. And Carroll County is very close to my heart. My sister lives there. My niece is actually, she's an addict as well. And every day we just pray that she makes it through. So, Carroll County, like I said, is obviously very close to my heart. So I love to hear that there's new recovery coming to that community as well.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Jarrod, do you, how'd you come up with clothing? Is it something you were always passionate about, or is it just, the way I think about it, I'm like, one of the biggest things that a lot of people, when they're, maybe at rock bottom, we lose our clothes for some reason. Like, we don't have licenses, we don't have places to sleep, we don't have a lot of food, and we need clothes. So I was kind of like curious, does that have something to do with why you decided to do, clothing company, or just how did that come up?
I think it was just being creative, man. And, this word might be outdated. I don't know what the kids are saying these days, but I always felt like I had swag, so I wanted to wear something that represented me. So when it first started, I had one hoodie and all it said was "Sobriety is sexy" on it. But so many people are, oh man, where'd you get that? Where'd you get it? And I was like, oh, I made it. I'll give you one. So I just started handing them out to anybody that was in recovery, like for presents when they would reach a certain date, like, and they were celebrating. And then my wife and I sat down one night and we were like, yo, you should really, do something and let people wear, the sobriety stuff proudly. You know what I'm saying? And that's really how it started to come up.
Yeah, now it's turned into something where I was like, in your like intro picture, I was like, yo, that's like super fresh. Like I would totally wear that. And I feel like, no offense to some of the stuff, but like, I feel like some of the recovery clothing is just so like cheesy sometimes, or it's very like, I'm in recovery, but like, it just made it like cool. Like you're wearing something now, right? That's like, typical like recovery clothing, but people would look at it from afar and be like, what is that? And then you get up close and you have a conversation. I feel like it's a good conversation starter too.
100%, man. It gets people looking, and I so wish I could take credit for that particular hoodie you talking about, but that was all my wife, man. My wife sat down and was like, Wu-Tang Cream, and put it together, and I was like, oh my God, you're a genius. Solid.
It's
man.
Perfect.
Teamwork makes the dream.
I love Tom's shirt too. It's really like I like the freshness of the Hoffa, and I think you said something about how like, a raven had something to do with, Jimmy's story or something like that. Can you, I don't want to ask, like, I know you mentioned it before, so I feel bad not remembering, but I know that there's some backstory to like the raven on your shirt, right? Is that
absolutely
like a Maryland thing, I assume?
It is. It's a Baltimore thing. It's, of course, the Baltimore Ravens. And on the side of the bag, it may be difficult to see. That's Jimmy.
Yeah.
He was 6'4". He's got a poncho on in the rain. He was tailgating at M&T Bank Stadium, and he was praying, looking up. We caught that picture. But he was just a diehard Baltimore Ravens fan. He would love to see, Lamar Jackson right now, what he's doing. So the purple Ravens colors, Raven the logo, and and to your point, Alex and Jarrod, I mean, the quality of the shirt, we didn't want that to be like that stiff, tight shirt you wear once, it shrinks up, and then you never wear it again. It's like, I'm going to sleep tonight in this. That's how comfortable this thing is. Yeah.
Well, I know that I went to go order one, and I should have got it 5 months ago whenever you're on there, because now they're out of stock, or at least they were out of stock when I looked.
Flying off the shelves.
So, but I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, with the two dynamics, Tom, I mean, you have the coffee and Jarrod, you have the clothing, but still it is like everyday household things that people utilize: coffee, clothing, so it's nice that, even on something like, because it was brought up about it's a conversation starter, and so I think that's really what's at heart here. Like, just the fact that we can get these conversations out there, we can get the communication going, and it just helps out all the more.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly?
Yeah, and I agree. I think, one of the things that I was actually going to ask you guys is that I know, Jarrod, you had said that you had given away a lot of stuff, which I think is totally awesome. I always love when people are able to do that. Maybe Todd and I can look at possibly, purchasing a couple of things and donating to people here at McShin.
Oh, wow.
We're always trying to find ways to, give back to the people in recovery and things like that. But one of the things that I always find beneficial is, I know Todd will often wear his stuff out into the community, and then it ends up coming back and people will be like, oh, that's a really cool shirt, or, whatever. And it gives us an opportunity to kind of engage in a little bit of education, to kind of, end that stigma to addiction. And so I think, that's why this one really was drawn to me, because that's truly been a big focus of mine, as well as education in our middle schools and our high schools, is trying to just make John Q. Public more aware of what addiction really is. Because unless you've been touched by it, or you've had a family member touched by it, I just feel like most people don't fully understand really what addiction is. And I think that, with entrepreneurs like you guys, that's totally getting that message out there, that there's so much more than what, the general public is currently being made aware of.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And it's cool because y'all actually provide a good, and I feel like nowadays the word entrepreneur is I create content and then have just a social media presence. You know what I'm saying? You guys are actually, again, not to delineate people who do that. I just think it's really valuable that y'all are, one, providing to the recovery community and community at large, but an actual good that I can hold and be every time I look at that shirt or that cup of coffee or what have you, it makes me feel good that I'm supporting something that is for a good cause.
Right.
Yeah. I just, in short, to both of y'all, feel free, whoever, to go first. Is it hard to be an entrepreneur? A lot of people think, oh, well, it takes so much work and effort. And the scary part is it might not even pan out. I could end up losing money. So is that part of the, does that anxiety play into a factor, Tom? Is it difficult?
I mean, I would say, Alex, it's never difficult when you have a passion for what you do. Like this every day, waking up, the passion, the mission, everything that's wrapped around it. It just keeps you moving forward. And you're going to fall down. You're going to stub your toe. There's going to be, difficult moments. We've already hit it multiple times, right? But we know what the mission is. We know what the passion is. And frankly, when you get into the mindset that you're not going to be stopped, and you get everybody on your team thinking that way, it's like control the controllables, mindset, attitude, and your work ethic. And that's what we do with the Hoffa team now. And, so for this specifically, every day, it's just waking up and doing what we're supposed to be doing. And it makes it that much easier.
Yeah, I think Tom hit that out the park, man. You know, I've had a couple businesses and it was extremely difficult, right? But what I found was it wasn't my purpose. And so, you know, I think last year I was sitting down with a therapist and she questioned me and said, well, what could you talk about all day, every day without preparation? Right? What do you love? Like, what do you enjoy? And I sat and I was like, sobriety and mindset. You know, I could do that on the drop of a dime. You know, let's build, let's have a conversation. So, you know, like Tom said, man, I enjoy it. I love every second of it. Like I wake up, try to come up with some content, create, you know, a hoodie or reach out and create dialogue with people and building an online community. So once the world does open up and we get normal, we'll be able to all kind of link together and continue to build and grow. So I thoroughly enjoy it.
Spot on, gents. To kind of come back to it, I think Tom made a good point in you know, surrounding yourself with people who support you. You know, the same way that like Kelly supports Todd, and you know, I hear in both of y'all, Jarrod and Tom, that you surround yourself with people who aren't going to say, "Are you sure about that?" It sounds kind of risky, doesn't it? You know what I'm saying? Like when I had like when we essentially legitimized my band, I you know, owned part of a company, a small business. It was like a LLC, and my mom was super supportive. My mom was like the major person who I thought would not be on board, would be like, "You're dropping out of school to do what? To like be a rapper?" Like that's like some of the most cliche thing I've ever heard. But the entire time she was super supportive, and you know, even paid us to play at my little brother's like graduation party. And we were, you know, just looking back on it, you don't really think about how many people support you throughout the journey until you look back on it. Exactly. How has it been supporting someone in their entrepreneurship, Kelly, from kind of your perspective? Is it difficult at times? Is it stressful at times? I mean, do you have to be honest and be like, I think you're working too hard, or do you have to just kind of be like hands off?
So, yeah, I mean, it can be hard, you know, I mean, especially like in the dynamic that we have, because I mean, we're married, you know,
Yeah.
I think sometimes it can be a little bit different when it's, you know, like a brother or sister or mom or dad or whatnot. I think that can be a little bit different. When you're married, you already have a lot of communication issues to begin with, usually. When you throw in trying to do a business, it makes it very interesting. But, you know, and for us, I think the rate at which this business has grown is probably been like our biggest obstacle. But what I've really enjoyed about, you know, watching, you know, Ask Him Studios grow is I've enjoyed watching Todd evolve, and I've enjoyed watching him just develop into a stronger person, not only just in you know, his business, but also in his recovery. And I know that it's a big push for him, because he does give back so much, you know, to the recovery world as part of his business. So I think that that's definitely a part of it, but I'm sure that Jarrod's wife probably feels that way too, huh?
Yeah. Nah, I get it, man. She was just telling me earlier, I feel like you're being distant. I'm saying, nah, I'm just busy. It's a difference.
But it's good that it sounds like she's able to kind of get involved a little bit too, and you know, be a part of, you know, your business as well, which, you know, is probably helpful. I know that, like, you know, Todd does weddings too, and the first couple of times that we went on weddings, I was dreading it, and it was not fun, and then kind of got like, oh, this isn't so bad, and now I'm like, we need to hire somebody, because I'm not going to go to these weddings anymore. So,
that's the trick.
yeah.
Come along till you don't like it.
Yeah, there you go.
So we had a comment from my supervisor, Jesse Wysocki.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Skit a freestyle. Yeah, that's my direct supervisor, best boss I've ever had.
He's a solid guy, man. Solid guy.
Oh, for sure. I will not be doing that
Why?
right now.
Oh, come on, that would be so much fun.
I don't know. That's kind of like, you know, I heard Hannibal Buress, who's a comedian, say like, if you're out and you tell people they're a comedian, they're like, tell us a joke. And you're like, no, that's not exactly how this works. If I told y'all I was a chef, would you be like, make me food right now? That's like, I can't do that right now.
Okay, so
I will at some point in time.
Like sometime in the next couple of weeks or whatever.
Maybe.
So the
When
good
you
news is
plug
that
me
because
in.
Todd produces it, I can make that happen.
You're in there,
so
Jarrod.
We will hold him accountable for that, right, Todd?
So I think Kelly brought up a really good point of part of my problem when I was in active addiction, and even now still, is that I have the desire to want to solve other people's problems for them. So like when we talk about these obstacles and being a support system for an entrepreneur, plenty of obstacles come up. And I know plenty of people probably want to help. Is it important that you solve these problems yourself for the personal growth and the ability to solve problems like that in the future? Or is it a little more important to try to lean on your support system?
Yeah, there's something I use every day, in my everyday business world, and even with the Hoffa Foundation. It's really, would you rather have 100% of your own effort or 1% of 100 different people's effort? And I think of the 1% of 100 people is just, utilizing your resources. It's leverage, it's teamwork, and we can't do these things on our own. So that network, that support, having it, identifying certain people. It took us a solid 12 months to really figure out who are some top-notch resources that believe in our mission, believe in the passion, that are maybe in recovery themselves, that really want to get behind this thing. And we identified some new members of the board that just came in as of this month. And we know this thing's really going to go. But I guess long-winded answer, Alex, is that it's got to be, your team resources and people with you. It's so tough to do it on your own.
Cool. Do you share that sentiment, Jarrod?
Yeah, I mean, every time Tom answers, he's spot on. I think that's where that term, your network is your net worth. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
you gotta have good people to pull from and support. And then don't let any outside sources hijack your feelings and emotions.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I really appreciate about you guys is just how positive you are. I mean,
Yes.
you have such a positive. Y'all have been smiling this entire time, and it naturally makes me smile. It's just really warm.
Well,
yeah.
if you go to their
Right.
Facebook pages, it's every post on there is like something uplifting or encouraging, and I'm going to start following them just so I can see their quotes of the day. I loved it. I thought it was so awesome that they were all just super energy and uplifting. I totally agree with that.
That's super cool. Do you have any questions, Kelly?
So I did, jot down a few things. So Jarrod, one thing I kind of wanted to touch base on, just because I know for me it was kind of impactful, but you not only talked about in your blog, you not only talked about addiction, but you also talked about mental health awareness as well. And I think that's part of your platform is that you want to make people aware that addiction and mental health, kind of go hand in hand. Do you mind just touching on that for us a little bit so we can hear a little bit about your story?
For me, like they say, hindsight is 20/20. Now I understand a lot of what my addiction stemmed from, and it came from untreated depression, because it had that stigma. So growing up, a young male, we were taught not to cry from pain. So what do you do when you can't let those emotions out? And you got to maintain tough throughout every situation. So I indulged in alcohol and drugs to kind of self-medicate, right? And all that did was lead to a life of destruction. Lost everything that I had, the little bit, family split up, as far as my girlfriend at the time, which is the mother of two of my sons. And I learned a lot throughout it, man. And I didn't get clarity with that until I was 28. I'm 35 now. And August 15th of 2013 was where I hit my personal U-turn moment. And that depression factor really kicked in, and I was beating myself down with a lot of negative thoughts. And I went out one night, got as hammered as I possibly could, came back home, was in the driveway cursing at the sky, and walked into my parents' house and started popping pills with no intentions of waking up. I was that done with life. By God's grace, I got up. My parents got me to the hospital, checked me into one of the I want to say mental health ward, but I don't really know what the proper term of it was. And I had a still like calming voice come over me, and it said, this is your second chance at life. And I took heed to that and just been running with it ever since. I knew if anything, if I ever tried anything else, that was it. I already got my warning. It was clear, this is it. Do what you got to do with life. And that's been my mission ever since. I've been sober 7 years, going on 8. And I'm just grateful, like extremely grateful to even be here to have this conversation.
We're grateful to have you here for sure. And we're glad that you got the help that you needed and that you made that choice. Like, I think that's really cool. I was doing a group about that the other day, is that we don't really realize exactly how many choices we make on a daily level. And the ability to have free will is just so taken advantage of sometimes when we consistently like blame this, that, or the third thing for my problems, when really, it's my problem. So it'll have to be my solution. You know what I'm saying? That I make the choice to being positive is a choice, which is why I'm glad y'all make that choice. Like, just very bright and cheery. I love it. Did you have another question, Kelly?
So, Tom, I was kind of curious a little bit about, so I know that you guys just got your 501c, which is awesome. For those people that don't know, that basically just gives them a nonprofit status. Mm-hmm. And so your plan is to try and open up a recovery house there in Carroll County. And then, so all of the proceeds that you currently have, all of that's going to be feeding into the recovery house then? Or are you planning on trying to even expand out past that to do other services besides the home itself?
Yeah. So when the pandemic first hit, we had started building up the funds inside of the foundation, and we knew other organizations needed support. So we helped out another place called Rising Above Addiction, right? Gave them some money for their homes for women. We gave money to the local hospital for PPE. We were just trying to help others out in the community. And so our vision is to open up the first home, and then possibly looking at a second, third home, and in a recovery center, right? Kind of like the hub for all of the homes in that centralized area over time. That's part of the strategic, roadmap we put together over the weekend on how we want to start with one. And we want to be the best of the best. I mean, one thing I've learned a lot in the last, I'd say 60, 90 days about recovery homes. And there's 2 words that make my stomach churn when I'm talking to people. And the 2 words are bad characters, right? Mm-hmm. I've heard that time and time again, that there are bad characters out there in this world with recovery homes. And it just makes me sick inside to hear that. And, the O in Hoffa stands for opportunity. And that's what we're going to be about. I mean, it's not going to be that, we have the house manager and, and all this stuff. I mean, me personally, my family members, the board members, we're going to be there helping people out. Like, whether it be, working on finances and budgeting and resume skills and just all the things that are needed, to get back on track, learning how to cook, learning how to do home improvements. I mean, the list goes on. We're going all in on this thing. So, the first place we do, we're going to take our time. We want, our success rate to be very high. We want to make an impact. And then over time, we will, perhaps add more. So we have big picture vision for it, but we're going to start with one and make it happen there first. So that's our plan.
Solid.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I mean, I don't know how much you guys, obviously I know about Carroll County because, I'm not from that area, but we know a lot about, and then, Frederick is right outside of Carroll County. And, Frederick right now is just, it's just being torn apart by drugs. And so I know that area especially. But I think that, I know Frederick County has been extremely supportive in the recovery community.
For sure.
Has Carroll County, like the county itself, have they been able to, come around you and support you and uplift, your organization to help you guys succeed as well?
So as far as the county support, there are a lot of folks in the county specifically, they're helping out other organizations that are already there, like, in progress. We're going to have their support as we open up the first one. Being that, we have, how Carroll County is, Kelly. Everyone's kind of well connected and knows each other. It's kind of like the family environment. And, so we expect the county to really rally. We see, without even opening up our first place, to your point, Alex, just the content and the brand. this is a big conversation starter. This has opened up so many eyes. This has made people second guess and think about the decision they're about to make. And that's only the beginning. But we fully expect the county to be behind Hoffa all the way through.
Awesome.
That is awesome. Absolutely. I just love how, you know, unlike politicians, you've been actually walking the talk. You know what I'm saying? These, you know, these promises and the things that you said would happen 5 months ago are now happening. So currently your track record's great. And so what you're saying is, I hate the word expectations, but I can't wait for this to happen because, you know, I think you have a really good mindset and a lot of clarity and a good heart, which is what's really important. I think a lot of people don't have the heart. They think that, you know, RCOs in the recovery community is the get rich scheme. I'll give you a hint. It's not. Like we're usually pretty broke and we usually help each other out because it makes me feel good. That's as simple as it gets a lot of time. Jarrod, I wanted to ask you, what are some of the ways that you've been giving back to the recovery community?
And right now, like I say, my platform is mainly online. So every Thursday night, I don't know if y'all know about the new app Clubhouse, but it's like, well, so what it is, right? You know, I know a lot of AA meetings, they go via Zoom and whatnot now. Well, Clubhouse allows you just to hold voice meetings. So you can jump on there into a room with a lot of recovering addicts and share your stories and inspiration. So I do one of those every Thursday night at 9. Produce some other stuff on the Instagram, man. And I think I got like 5 or 6 more hoodies that I'm giving away this week where I've just seen at random people celebrating their sobriety dates, you know, via social media. So that's what we got for now. But like Tom was stating, man, my wife, you know, she's really the motor behind a lot of this. You know, the inspiration, because we are too looking into doing some recovery houses here in the near future as well.
Awesome. That's really cool, man. And you know, the cool thing about both of y'all is it feels just so grassroots. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, just making connections and you know, dealing with it one person at a time. And if it gets bigger than that, so be it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's really cool. Anything there, Kelly?
So, Jarrod, when you are doing like these, I'm sorry, you said it was Clubhouse.
Clubhouse, yeah.
You know, I'm old, so I don't know any of the new apps or anything.
I've never heard of it either.
Yeah, like, you know,
I'll plug y'all in. It's good
okay.
stuff, man.
Perfect.
You send all that information to Todd, and he'll get it, and then I'll decide if I want it. Like, you know, that's the best part about having. Well, that's probably the only good part about having teenage kids is that they do kind of, you know, help you learn to see like what is like. When I learned about spilled tea, I was like, what the heck is that? like who says that? Who says I'm gonna spill your tea? I'm like, I have sweet tea. I'm fine. You know, but one of the things that I totally lost track of what I was going to say now. That was awful. I'm sorry, Jarrod. Oh, so I know what I was going to say. So when you're like, you know, just, you know, reading the blog and things like that, is that kind of what you're doing on Clubhouse? You know, is it just like another avenue for people to kind of, you know, around McShin, they talk a lot about like, you know, hope shots. So is that kind of what it is? Is it a space where people that are, you know, currently in recovery, that they can kind of come and get like their hope shot and say, hey, I really just needed this, you know, pickup today?
That's exactly what it is. You know, they jump on there. It's a lot of different rooms. My particular one is just every Thursday at 9:00 Eastern. And that's what it is. I'll go in there and we create different topics. I'll throw a question out to the group, and you know, normally it's like 25 to 30 people in there, and they'll just share. Some people in long-term recovery, some people got a week here, but it's just getting that message of hope out there to everybody. I know I always leave inspired and fired up, so that's really why I keep it going.
That's cool. I've never heard of it. I'm gonna have to give that a shot. You know, it hasn't been easy in the recovery community here in the last, like, God, feels like a year now. I mean, it actually has been probably like a year since this pandemic started, and
just shy of it because we didn't start doing this until March 13th.
Yeah, so it's really refreshing to hear something like another avenue that we can use.
It's clutch, man. It's clutch. It's definitely clutch, because right after you leave, you can just open up the app, and if there is a sober talk room available, you can listen to it while you drive. You don't necessarily have to even speak. But if something in there touches you and inspires you, you know, it's a button, you could raise your hand and one of the moderators will bring you up. They call it the stage. They'll bring you up and you could share whatever was on your mind at the time and reach somebody else that's just in there listening. So it is a quality app, man. It came right on time.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and I think that sounds like that kind of gives people more of like an instant connection, which I know during like the heart of the pandemic, that was one of the big issues that there was with like, you know, NA and NA was that there wasn't like that kind of like instant gratification kind of thing. So is that the case? You know, does Clubhouse give someone kind of more of like an instant, like I'm really struggling right now, I just need, you know, to talk to someone or, you know, hear something positive?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's exactly that. You know, one of my wife's friends hit me the other week and I sent her an invite to the app and she jumped in the room, spilled everything she was going through. And, you know, once that meeting was over, she texted us and was like, oh my God, thank you so much. That was exactly what I needed. So it's cool, man. It's a lot of great content and stuff on that app. You should definitely check it out.
For sure. Tom, how do you personally, you know, share what you're going through? Because I know it had to have been really difficult losing Jimmy. So how did you kind of deal with that? Did you have any certain outlets like a Clubhouse or something like that? And maybe what do you do currently?
So in just thinking about listening to Jarrod, you know, talk about, you know, being on the stage and doing those types of things and being, you know, getting it all out, right? Not holding it back. I'll take with me to my grave the fact that I did not get on the stage and advocate sooner than I should have. Meaning, you know, my fear was going to work every day, working for, you know, corporate organization. You saw my picture. I need to change my picture for you guys. I mean, with the profile, with the shirt and the tie and the jacket and all that stuff. You know, that's me in the professional world. And it's like one of those things where, like, when you're doing, you know, working in the business world, you kind of hold those things back and you only want to talk about it on the sideline with people that may want to talk about it with you or talk about it when you huddle up at home with your family. And, you know, with Jimmy's passing, I have no, you know, there's no guard here anymore. I mean, this thing's completely down. I still run the business, but I talk about this like no other, and it blends right in with the work. And you know what? By doing so, not only does it give me that sense of relief that I can impact others, you know, on the work front as well, but there are other people in our company, outside the company. Like, I went into the LinkedIn world with Hoffa, you know, and for LinkedIn, you know, kind of like a business platform. Of course, we're in Facebook and all this stuff, but I went into the LinkedIn world. We did as an organization. Now we're just scratching the surface, but the people that are gravitating towards it in the business world, because this impacts them, this impacts their brothers, their sisters, their kids. I mean, so I'm so glad I did it now. But like I said, I will take with me to my grave that I could have done this much sooner and perhaps even had him with me because of that. So, you know, for those that are out there watching this that may feel the same way, that maybe you have to hold back because you're in that world where you got to keep it contained and you can't leak it out into a team meeting or whatever, like, get it out, talk about it. You know, someone on your team most likely is going through it and they need you right now. More now than ever, they need you, especially companies operating like this that aren't in their office space where they can see each other. In the mental health aspect right now, you got to be talking about it. So I hope this impacts at least one person like that.
Yeah.
They go tomorrow and have that feeling, you know what, I need to release and get the conversation going.
Yeah. I think that brings up such a valid point too. It was funny because, you know, today I was listening to the podcast that you had done earlier with the two young ladies that were in here, and I'm at work, so I can't always listen to it all the whole time, but I was able to catch the end of it. And so hearing Tom talk about that, like, one of the things that I'm always saying to Todd is, you know, I'm not a person in recovery, so I'm always like looking for the opportunity to talk about education and things like that, because it is something that's, you know, obviously dear to me. But, you know, when you're not in recovery, you don't tend to have that problem being able to be open about recovery and, you know, addiction and things like that. But when you're a person that's in recovery, I think it sounds like, from what other people have said, that it's somewhat of a struggle to kind of maybe cross that barrier with people and openly say it or talk about it at work and things like that. So I think that, you know, giving this opportunity to, you know, like you were saying with LinkedIn and things like that, it definitely opens up a whole new world to help educate people who don't know anything about addiction and recovery. And I hope that more people that will find the courage and the strength to be able to do that, because it makes it so much easier to squash that stigma. The more people are talking about it, the quicker that stigma is gonna go down. But if we don't talk about it, then it's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I just want to chime in because, like you said, it's an awesome topic. And what I've learned in my personal journey is that my story is my superpower, right? I used to shy away from it, man, but it feels so much better when I'm telling people versus me just walking around with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like that tightening in our chest. You're like, we don't have to have that. We can actually like release that valve and everything. And you know, Tom, you've been very hopeful and authentic. As long as I've known you, you've been talking about it. So I can imagine, but that's all I can do is imagine. Maybe before, when there's kind of that hesitancy, and you know, I'll ask you. Were you surprised at how many people came up to you after you made that decision to start advocating and talking about it more and say, hey, me too? Because that's what a lot of people say, is they were so surprised how many other people were like, hey, like my something similar happened to my brother or my sister or my mom or you know, something like that. Was that a shock to you?
It a little bit, Alex, was a shock, but I was thinking about, you know, with Jimmy, you know, we have an older brother, we have a younger sister, and you know, Jimmy, you know, grew up good family, you know, and very, I mean, guy had a heart of gold, just loved his nieces and nephews, and he would be at events, and Jimmy was just Jimmy, and we knew what he was struggling with, right? And it can impact anyone. I mean, he of course got into a car accident, got hooked on prescription painkillers, and that escalated into other things. And, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, this can impact anyone. Doesn't matter how you grew up, what you look like. None of that stuff matters, right? It doesn't discriminate. And I was like, so me knowing that, I'm like, this is happening. And I follow the news and the stats and see what's going on. And, you know, especially right now, I mean, we all know on this call that there's a bigger issue going on right now. And we see it. I mean, we see the worst case scenario in the funeral homes. I mean, last couple of months, just some of the overdose deaths, people in their late 20s, early 30s, it's been crazy. And when that happens, my family's around it. You know, the whole Jimmy thing comes back up again. So anyway, a little bit of surprise there, Alex, I would say, but I kind of knew what was going to happen. And, you know, but what I didn't know, just to go back to what I said earlier, was what type of response I was going to get at work. And I was like, I have to break this barrier. I have to just go do it. And I don't care what happens. I'm going to go do it. And when I did it, there was a huge sense of relief. And all of a sudden it was like a magnet, people just coming to you with their stories too. And thanking me and us, I should say, for being that voice, because, you know, more voices need to get out there. I mean, that's just the bottom line. More people have to get out there. What you are doing here with this is amazing. This communication vehicle is unbelievable. And I'm so happy for what you're doing from the last time I was here till now, to your point with Todd, like the production, but, you know, all this good stuff, but the message that's going out, going out tonight that you all do every single day. We need more of that out there across, you know, all platforms.
Well, we couldn't do it if other people didn't decide to use their voices too. So we really appreciate y'all using yours. Absolutely. Todd, did you have something you wanted to add there?
Well, I mean, you know, Tom, you were just bringing up about the vehicle communication, and I think right now is probably the greatest opportunity that we've had in the last at least 5 years for, as a community, to come together collectively to shake off the stigma, have a voice, have so much of an access to a voice. I mean, it's never been easier to discover or talk about, or, you know, live out recovery content, or, you know, talk about our stories than it has been now. And that's been one of the plus sides to the COVID era, is that so many people have accessibility electronically, or well, virtually, you know, to communicate. And I think that that's really one of the better things. So going back to the COVID end, how has that affected both of your businesses, you know, at the start of it? Because Tom, the last time we talked to you 5 months ago, we were just kind of still going through the beginning parts of that. And, you know, and so how has that affected you, Jarrod? How has that affected you, Tom? you know, and where do you guys still, you know, how are you coming through that?
It affected me more on the positive side, man. Like I was speaking, you know, my whole sobriety journey now is allowing me to be more creative, and thinking of ways on how to reach people. So if I can't physically, you know, get to people, wherever location is, I can do it right online. You know, that's why Clubhouse has been a major game changer. I do a lot of activity on Instagram. So if anything, it's definitely helped, you know. Like Tom was saying, this platform here, right, too. Just getting the message out there, you know, it never stops. So it's a daily thing. I'm posting something to hopefully inspire somebody.
Awesome.
Great point, Jarrod. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's certainly, you know, what's interesting. I read today just on for coffee specifically, trends of 2021. You're going to see more drive-throughs. Apparently, you know, Starbucks are exiting like the malls and creating more drive-throughs, and you're going to see more coffee deliveries, Uber Eats and places like that. So people love their coffee, right? And so we've already only been in that kind of ship mode. In fact, what we do is, Kelly, anywhere within 15 miles of Carroll County, my family personally delivers the coffee to the homes because they want to see the people that are supporting us.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So we go out there and you know, and do that in the community, safely, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's been, like Jarrod said, I mean, getting the message out, utilizing different social media channels and content. And we've done some virtual events to bring awareness and raise some funds. We had a virtual concert. In fact, we had this guy play acoustic guitar, but I see all the freestyle comments coming in for you, Alex. The other day, I wake up, of course, go grab my phone. I'm looking at stuff. And this guy out of nowhere is on my Instagram. His name's Harry Mack. Have you all seen Harry Mack?
I have seen Harry Mack. He walks through the street and he starts freestyling about what people are wearing and what they look like. So it's obviously off the top, and he's pretty funny.
Yeah. So I reached out. You know, you could reach out to book him. And so I reached out to him. His management responded, and we're trying to coordinate something. So I'm trying to do a Harry Mack Hoffa event virtual. So I'll make sure you all get the invite when we do that.
Oh, absolutely. Love Harry Mack. But before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, Jarrod, did you at the beginning of your, you know, recovery journey, struggle with using your voice? We were kind of talking about that earlier. And I know at least for the first, like, you know, 3 to 6 months for me, I was just kind of like, sit in the corner, be honest with how I'm feeling, but not really go out of my way to use my voice unless someone asks me. Were you kind of the same way, or have you been, you know, consistently the, you know, recovery mouthpiece that you currently are?
Nah, man. Early on, I was a hermit crab, man. So this office light keeps going on and off on me.
I like it. It's like the clap.
Yeah, every time I move my hand, it's like click. But nah. When my first early in recovery, man, I was a hermit crab. I had one focus, man, and that was getting my mind right. Like if I wasn't right internally and my mind wasn't right, nothing else was going to work. And it's weird because it's like when you're in active addiction, you always got this little voice inside of you, like reminding you, hey man, this isn't you. This isn't you. You're better, not better than this, but you don't do this, you know? So I always had that, you know, when I was, you know, working my real estate business or medical commodities business and working at the VA, like I always had something inside me like, hey, your purpose is still out there. Your purpose is still out there. So it was always there. I just didn't utilize it as much as I should. And I think watching so many times, like good friends of mine, man, me having to type RIP to this person and that person. Yeah. Like I was sitting back like, dang, I could have said something that might help them change it. And last year, I watched one of my homeboys, Brady, like out of nowhere, man, somebody hit me and said he passed. And that was like the final straw for me. Like, you know what, you know, it's my turn. Like I gotta use this story. Like it's my superpower, and let somebody say, hey man, you don't have to go through that. Like, it's all right.
That's cool. We all got superpowers on today. That's awesome.
For sure. Wear your cape, man. Throw it on.
Well, I think, you know, just listening to him talk, one of the things that kind of did strike me is that I think in recovery, one of the key things is kind of consistency. And so that and not everybody's personality is necessarily going to be like, hey, I'm going to be out there and talk, passionately about recovery and things like that. But that doesn't mean that you can't be an advocate for recovery in your own space, and just staying consistent, with recovery and staying consistent in your daily life and things like that. That's also an excellent testimony to how recovery can change lives, and how you can have a fruitful, successful life in recovery just by staying consistent too. So I don't want those people to be overlooked.
No,
either.
but like using your voice via your actions, essentially.
Yes.
Being able to hold your word, stick to your responsibilities. Yeah, I think that's well said.
I know that there have been a couple people that I have met, and I've been surprised to hear that they were in recovery, but then to hear their journey and things like that, and even though they weren't like vocally saying it, their journey that through that lifetime had impacted people along their road. And I just, I want to encourage people in that respect too, that just by living it day by day, that's an inspiration on its own.
100%. Consistency is key. So you got to.
Absolutely. All right. So before we wrap up, Tom, any final thoughts or closing remarks? I know you were talking about the Hoffa Classic earlier with us.
Yeah, the Hoffa Classic. It's just the McShin Classic on May 14th. We saw that online. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're pretty much replicating that on May 24th, which happens to be National Brothers Day. That wasn't by design. I was sharing with Jarrod and Alex and Kelly before we started that, it landed on that Monday, the 24th of May. I look up the national calendar day, which I do frequently. It's National Brothers Day. Go figure. But it's going to be a great day. The golf is kind of like on the sideline. It's all about the experience and bringing folks in and having a good time and doing all the things to be around each other, show the love, show the support, and continue to get the message out there. So looking forward to the first annual Hoffa Classic, May 24th.
That's cool, man. Any way to positively bring a community together, I'm all about for sure. Jarrod, any final remarks, closing thoughts?
First time, man. I ain't played golf before, but can I come through and kick it?
100%, Jarrod, you're in, man. Absolutely.
Word, I'm on the way, May 24th. I'm up there.
And bring hoodies and shirts and whatever you got. We'll have a nice table set up for you.
I bet. Let's definitely connect on that, man, for sure.
Got it.
Closing remarks, man. I'm glad to be here. Like, out of all honesty, man, just grateful for the opportunity to continue to spread this message about recovery, mindset, and hope. And everybody out there, if you're suffering in silence, man, keep fighting.
Good advice.
Great
Kelly?
advice, yeah. So thank you so much for letting me join you tonight. And
Please.
I was so excited to meet both of you guys, and, definitely keep up those positive quotes on Facebook. I'm totally going to follow you so that I can have those every day now. My son used to send them to me and he stopped. So I don't know. I guess he doesn't like me anymore. But and I just want to send a huge shout out to Todd, and just, recognize all of the hard work that he puts in every day, and now being in studio and seeing all of you're
in the belly of the beast now.
These bright lights and everything, and now I understand why he gets here so early to set up.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it a little bit more.
It's a lot of work for sure. Well, I'm very grateful to have you on today.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful, gentlemen. It's been absolutely delightful speaking with y'all. Tom, you keep up the great work, man. I'll be marking my calendar May 24th. Jarrod, I will see you there. I'll hold you accountable if you hold me accountable to go to this thing together.
We're
solid.
We can carpool.
Yeah, we can all carpool.
Let's
Perfect.
do it.
So just continue the great work and using your voice and staying positive, gentlemen. It's just really beautiful to see y'all and the great work that you're doing for the community. Jarrod, it's great to meet you, buddy. We've been talking back and forth, and it's cool to actually connect face to face like this.
Likewise.
Thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. And shout out to our producer, Todd. We love you too, buddy.
Hey.
Yeah, man. So until next time, Jarrod, Tom, Kelly, Todd, I love you guys. This has been Get in the Herd. Peace out.
Cheers.
My name is Shannon Lance. I'm currently here in recovery at Hoffa Foundation. I got out of jail on January 10th, 2021, and while I was incarcerated there, my mother passed away due to COVID complications on December 14th. It was a really challenging event in my life. While I was incarcerated there, I watched the recovery videos and the podcast on the tablets there, that was made by the Hoffa Foundation. Getting the Heard podcast really made me feel like I was a part of something on the outside, because, there's people that are commenting and just seeing, people that I was incarcerated with on the videos, and just thinking, man, that's going to be me, before too long. And, I'm going to be sitting in them rooms and, be able to be a part of the podcast and Getting the Heard series. And, now I'm a part of the Heard here at Hoffa, and it's an amazing feeling, and it's nice having a fulfilled sense of hope in my life currently, and just to live one day at a time, and just to have positive feelings in my life and good relationships with my family and friends is an amazing event.
Never lay down, never give up. I am a